Well, I'm finally getting around to recording this for you today. I'm sorry. I think everything's been going smoothly with my technology that the computer gods decide to punish me today. So to make a long story short, the first time we did this morning with the webinar, I was having a bunch of feedback with my microphone and other people's microphones. So when I went to upload it into YouTube, it sounded like me going, in a girl. It was really bad. And so then and that was like, it was to do the whole thing was like an hour. So then the next thing is I decided to do it again and I forgot to hit record. Then I had a BC conference and I think BC was just having, not BC, Schoology was just having too much traffic, but the sound was bad again. So I finished that after half an hour and they said, we could hardly hear you. So then my next BC conference, I had them have their mics off and that went better. Then I had the after school study session, which went great because I think all the traffic was off of Schoology, et cetera, et cetera. So now I'm finally getting around to do this. It was supposed to be me interacting with other people, but it's just me now because you don't want to hear. So we're going to do a couple things with this. We're going to go over some really important problems. So the calculus today is very important. There's not a whole lot of days left like that. We're going to be focusing a lot on procedure, submitting, just doing small practice exams. But today the content's actually very important, so make sure you're watching with intent. But I would like you to find 3 sheets of paper. They have to be 8 by 10. They can be lined or a blank. That's what College Board is requiring your submissions to be on, is 8 by 10 blank paper. Also a dark writing utensil, black pen, blue pen. I personally can't do math in pen very well the first time around. I'll make my keys in pen sometimes, but if I was doing an exam, I got to use that pencil, but make sure it's got a dark lead and you write pretty dark. The other thing is you're going to lay those out. For the actual AP exam, you get to have 5 sheets for each of the 2 FRQs. So you should have 10 sheets of blank paper, and they each should have 3 things written on the top of them. What they should have written on the top is, in the left-hand corner, your AP ID number. You don't know that yet. It's going to get mailed to the email that you registered for your College Board account in, so in My AP. And so if you know what that email address is, go ahead and write that in the left-hand corner. If you don't, or if you do, actually, I'm just going to tell you that you should really make sure you figure out what that email address is and that you access it. And you can do that in the My AP by going to the profiles and just checking what email address you have associated with it. Like, we've been using AP Classroom enough. I think that you ought to remember that, but if not, you've got to get that figured out by Friday. On Friday, we're going to have a test on procedure, not math, but we're going to have a Schoology conference, and we're going to make sure you've got everything you need figured out prior to that Tuesday exam, so that we're not worrying at all about submitting and what our AP number is, and do I upload one at a time or can I upload a multiple? We're going to clear that all out starting today with 2 little things. The first thing is, make sure you find your email address associated with College Board and make sure you access it. You're going to have a bunch of emails in there from them. I'm not saying you have to go read them all. I'm taking care of that and I'm sorting stuff out for you, but you need to get in there. All right. So one of the things you're going to have to submit for me for today for this assignment is going to be a screenshot of you in that email. So I just want to verify that you have access. If you can't get access, you need to contact College Board. I have no idea. But you need to do so by Friday when it becomes a test. In the middle of each sheet of the paper, you're going to put your initials. That's also going to be required on next Tuesday. And then in the top right, you're going to put number 1. So you're going to have 3 sheets of paper. It's going to go AP code, AP code, AP code, but you don't know that yet. So you're going to put email address, email address, email address. And then it's going to go initials, 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 and then 1, 2, 3. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and do 2 FRQs, both of which that you indicated you had struggled with previously. And then I was going to do some of the most missed from last week, but Almost all of them are ones I know you don't need to know, so I'm just going to hit on 2 small pieces. When we're done with that, so you're going to do each of those on FRQ number 1, it's about a potato on the first page. FRQ number 2 is a super FRQ on graph analysis. I don't think we'll hit the whole FRQ. And then lastly, just some tidbits from things that you were asking me questions about on your Google Forms. So you have 3 sheets. Once we're done, what I'm going to have you do is practice doing a submission or a successful upload. You might think, well, we've been uploading stuff to you in Google Forms here for a month. I know how to do it. They don't accept PDFs, number 1, and that's how I've been having you submit. Number 2, you have to submit on the device in which you open the test. And we're going to have you opening it on a computer. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at a very tiny phone window, and the scrolling's going to get messy. So I want you opening it on a computer screen top, whether it's desktop, laptop, tablet, I don't care, but I want as big a screen as possible. And then we're going to use our phone to take the pictures, but we have to submit through the computer, and it can't be as a PDF or a text file or a, what's it called, HEIC, which is how some of yours were coming into me at Schoology at the beginning. So that has to do with a camera setting, but I need to find who you are. So we got to do a little practicing here prior to the 12th. So having said all that, we're going to now go start a little calculus. So I've got to go do a screen share here. I have to let myself into the meeting. So yeah, they've really upped the security here on Zoom. So I'm going to let myself into the meeting, and I'm connected. I shall share my content and we'll get going. So on the first blank sheet of paper, what I want you to do is write potato. So we're going to be on the potato problem here. It should be showing up here. Oh, I have to share screen too, don't I? All right, there's so much to remember, and I just did 3 Schoology ones, and it's completely different. So I apologize, but I need to go here to my QuickTime player and share. I'm getting better though, right? So here we go. This is the screen you should be looking at. It's a problem about a potato. Exciting, right? So as usual, and I'm going to go kind of fast through this because it's my 3rd time through today, honestly. I know these, I could do the potato one. I'll probably be dreaming about potatoes. So at time t equals 0, a potato is taken from a pot on the stove and it's left to cool. So here's my steamy potato, and it's cooling up. The internal temperature of the potato is 91 degrees Celsius. That's an initial condition. You really should write that down. So on your blank sheet of paper for 4, I would write down just above, not part A, part B, or part C. I always have you guys box in or underline important things in the stem of the problem. You can't do that anymore because it's going to be on the computer. So what I suggest you do is write those at the top of your paper before you start part A, part B, part C. So at the top of this one, I would write 091. I'd make sure you're 100% clear what these represent. 0 is a time, 91 is a temperature, but the temperature is being given the variable H. So this is the point T, H of T. It's very important for this problem. You'll see why. What else do they tell me? H is always greater than 27 degrees. They wouldn't tell me that if I didn't need it. That's why I'm sucking it out of the stem of the problem and putting it at the top of my paper. And lastly, dH dt, I would write really large because that's going to be the kicker to the whole problem. All right, so there's everything out of the stem of the problem that I need. For part A, write an equation for the tangent line to the graph at t equals 0. We've done equations of tangent lines so many times. We know that to get an equation, we need a point, and that is almost always handed to us. If not completely, they'll at least give us one of the coordinates so we can find the other. So there's my point. I need the slope or the derivative at that point. Now I would use this Leibniz notation. I wouldn't use h prime, y prime. It really helps with the variables. You might even want to write a little t or an h over here because it says it equals negative 1/4 of the h. It's actually the dependent variable that needs to go into this model. We're used to putting x in because I'd say 90% of the time we've had these functions of the x or the independent variable. But in this scenario, it's the h that's determining the dh dt. Again, you're used to dy dx equaling 4x plus 2. And working with it that way. This is like dy dx equals 4y plus 2. So the rate of change is being determined by the y coordinate. That's unique. Well, we've had it before, but not very often. And College Board loves that type because they make sure you understand rates of change and the difference between dependent and independent variables. So the h that goes in is not a 0, it's a 91 minus 27. For time purposes, you might want to just leave that because we can leave things unsimplified, but for me, that kind of bugs me. So we've got a negative 16 in there. Now this is a rate of change. So this is negative 16 degrees per, minute, but it didn't require units or an explanation, but sometimes it'll say, what does this mean? Like it'll just ask you for dH dt at t equals whatever and ask you what it means. And this means the rate of change of the temperature of the potato is decreasing at a rate of 16 degrees per minute. Make sure you don't say decreasing at a rate of negative. If you're going to say decreasing, it's going to absorb the signage of the 16. So you can say changing at a rate of negative 16, but you can't say decreasing at a rate of negative 16 degrees per minute. I'm not done with the question though. That would have been if it asked me what is the rate of change. This one asked me to write an equation for the tangent line, which we've done. Y minus 91 is equal to the slope there times x minus 0. And you can leave that if you want. That would get you the point for the equation of the tangent line, but I'm supposed to use it to make an approximation. So I want to write y equals negative 16x plus 91. Now technically, the y coordinate is h in this scenario. So technically, if it were me, I would like you to rewrite it, but they don't mark that wrong if you don't. They actually call them in the reading, they call those spelling errors. They're like, who's to say that's not a T? And nationwide, there's countries where their T's and X's look a lot alike. I can tell you that. So they just, your variables being off, if your numbers are off though. But anyway, technically that's what this should be. So my h of 3 is going to be approximately negative 16 times 3 plus 91. All right, which is 43 degrees, but you could have just left this if you're on a mission to save time. All right, part A is done. For part B, I'm to find a second derivative. But again, this is be very careful with the notation. To find the second derivative for part B, you should write down the first derivative. Don't write h prime. Write dh dt equals negative 1/4 of h minus 27. And use the formal notation, the d dt, that gives you the d squared h dt squared of both sides. So you can see that when we're doing this, and this was in the after school session today, we had one like this with waste in a landfill, but it was the same thing where this isn't a function of t. Again, you're used to taking the derivative with respect to x, and that's 4. But the derivative with respect to y, the non-variable match, is 4 dy dx. And again, I'm talking about these over here. So my derivative is not negative 1/4. And although I wasn't a reader for this problem this year, I had 2 other prompts that I was reading. The people discussing this one, so they were surprised at how many kids got part B wrong. They just couldn't do the second derivative when it was not the independent variable. So the answer is not negative 1/4. That would have been if it was negative 1/4 t and we had that variable match. It's negative 1/4 dh dt, and then the derivative of the constant is 0. And dh dt was explicitly given to you as negative 1/4 of h minus 27. So it's a long problem. Like it's taken me a while here. And now I need to use it to decide if that's an under or overestimate of the actual temperature. So what happened in part A, so we had this graph of H that we had no clue what it looked like, right? And what we did is we said, well, hop on at T equals, what was it? T equals 3. Give me a tangent line. And then I want you to hop on that tangent line. Oh, by the way, the tangent line was to the graph at 0. And let's say it says hop on that tangent line. That's a really bad graph. Sorry. So reboot. Graph, graph of H. We had this, what happened at 0, and then it said to hop on at 3 and use it to approximate. But remember, I'm on the tangent line. I'm not on the curve with my answer for part A. And whether you're over or underestimate is all about concavity. If we're concave up, tangent lines are under the curve and underestimates. Concave down, tangent lines are over the curve and overestimates. So I have to determine the concavity, which is determined by the second derivative, which in this case is greater than 0 for all H, because H is always greater than 27. Remember, that was in the stem of the problem. So we have a positive second derivative, which implies that H is concave up. And then you would write, so this provides, the tangent line provides an underestimate. Okay, last step. I've been talking a lot today. I hope I'm not going too fast, but I've been talking since like 8 this morning straight. I have a sore throat. All right. For part C, I got you though. I'm good. I'm not crabby anymore. I was crabby, but now the end. Now, if I didn't hit record on this, which I know I did, and or it comes out all garbled, I quit. All right. I'm just going to throw in the towel. So this guy right here. Okay, where G of T is measured in Celsius and G of 0 equals 91. Find an expression for G of T. All right, find an expression for G of T. When I'm given the derivative, I need to end up writing G of T equals, which means I need to undo the derivative. To undo a rate of change, we integrate. To integrate, we need to separate. So this is actually separation of variables that they haven't explicitly told me in the stem of the problem. So you got to be very careful with that. Remember, when we separate, we need to get all things involving G, but and G, not extras. So I wouldn't bring the negative over because we're trying to isolate G, so we want G to be by itself. So we've actually got this going on here. So then we're going to integrate both sides. We'll have two very different antiderivatives. The antiderivative of -1 is negative t plus some constant. Now you might be tempted over on this guy to say, well, that's natural log. It's not. U prime, if u is g minus 27, u prime is 1, but I don't get u prime over u. I get u primed over u to the 2/3. So this is actually not natural log model. It's going to be power rule. Oops, I forgot my DG on there. All right, so I add 1 to the power, and the derivative of the guts is 1, so I don't need to have any fraction correction. This is u to the negative 2/3 du, which is u to the 1/3 when I add 1 to that power and divide by that power. And again, you might want to take the derivative of your antiderivative when you're, if you're sitting there with extra time. They did say this test is going to be very built up. So you might have 25 minutes, but there might be 20 small questions you need to do. Maybe most kids in the world can only do 11. Maybe you come out doing 15 and you think, oh, I didn't even finish 5 of them. That's okay. You can still get a 5. They really stressed that in one of the webinars. So it's okay if you don't finish, but you have to at least be going at a pace on average with the rest of the world. And if you're, again, trying to Google, trying to open other windows, trying to use notes, trying to use a calculator when you don't need one, you might only get 10 of the 25 done. They're going to have more there than they anticipate you can answer because they want to give you guys the best chance to get down on that paper what you truly know. So if there's only 4 questions, that's not, maybe for those 4 you only knew 2, but if they had 8 you would have known 6. So they're going to really try to err on giving you the benefit of the doubt with that. So I think you're just going to need to be methodical and careful and also quite speedy, not sloppily so. All right, so at this point, I think I would just go find my C. All right, so you know, I find it when it feels good, and it feels just fine right here. I'm okay using my initial condition and putting in a 91 for G, and a 0 for T, and that would give me 3 times 64 to the 1/3 power, or 3 times 4, which is 12, not 3, 0 plus C. So my C is 12, and I'm not going to do the arithmetic there for you. G minus 27 to the 1/3 is going to equal negative T plus 12. All right, so now what do? We unravel and get G. We'll divide by 3. And again, you might want to show all this. We'll cube, but honestly, this is acceptable. Now when I'm done, I have G is equal to negative T plus 12 all over 3 quantity cubed plus 27. All right, so I have to go back and see if I'm done because I spent so much time doing it. Find an expression for G of T done based on this model. So see, you always have to go back and read the whole stem of the problem. I'm supposed to find the internal temperature at time T equals 3. So I would just replace the T with the 3. And again, you don't have to do the arithmetic for that, but negative 3, so I'm going to write G of 3 equals, it'd be negative 3 plus 12, 9, divided by 3, 3, cubed is 27, plus 27 is 54 degrees Celsius. All right. Now, my intent on this had been to go do another one, but I think I'm going to do that another day this week because, and it's my favorite one, and I really want to do it, but I'm honestly exhausted, and I do need to tell you some other stuff. So I think my next one for you is going to be this graphical STEM medley, and some of you did it with me after school. And so you guys will be exempt from it when I do it, unless you want doo-doo, unless you want to see it again. But I'm kind of fried right now, and I'm going to make up for posting this late by giving you less to do. This is a really, really important problem, though. So when you see in the next 5 days graphical STEM medley come across your assignment list, give it your full attention because it's one of my favorites. So the thing I want to end with, so page 2, just leave blank. Again, we want those. Page 1 had potatoes. Page 2 is going to be blank, right? Graphical STEM medley, and make a big smiley face, whatever you want to do on it. Page 4 was going to be covering the things you guys told me you struggled the most with on those problem sets we've been having. But the encouraging part is really there's only a few of them where I think I really need to go over. The rest of them are specific to multiple choice format, and you needed to know the answers really to work with the problem, and you're not going to have that. So I'm going to go to this one, part D, because this in the Google form you guys said you were struggling with this guy. So I'm going to just do it down here. It says, does a graph of f, so let's put down what f of x is. And this horizontal asymptote has been plaguing us all year, so just one last time. Horizontal asymptotes, first of all, you can have more than one. Second of all, a graph can cross its horizontal asymptote. So some people don't know that. You can't cross your vertical asymptote, but a graph can cross its horizontal asymptote multiple times if it eventually doesn't cross it on out to infinity. So as I head to infinity, I have a horizontal asymptote on this one. Let's suppose that's up at y equals 3. So my limit as x approaches infinity of the y values is 3. Now, I can have 2 of them. Like if this went down and went along -1, then I'd have 2 horizontal asymptotes. Whereas it headed on down to negative infinity, I'd only have the 1. So you can have more than one horizontal asymptote. But when you're finding them, you have to consider the limits as x approaches infinity and the limit as x approaches negative infinity. Limit x approaches negative infinity. So you take that, and remember I always said I don't like negative exponents. So when you view this one, the top is tending towards infinity and the bottom is. This is technically L'Hopital's rule. The derivative of the top is 2. The derivative of the bottom is e to the x. As x goes to infinity, it's going to be 2 over gadillion zillion, and it's going to go to 0. But again, with hierarchies of functions, e to the x overtakes y equals 2x and just annihilates it. As you go to infinity, that e to the x, try e to the 10th on your calculator. It's so much more bigger than 20, and we're not even close to infinity. So that's kind of a common sense problem, not a L'Hopital application. But when I head to negative infinity for 2x e to the negative x, I'd have 2 infinity e to the negative infinity. So that's going to infinity times infinity, which is infinity. So what that means is on the left end of that one, it's actually going up. And on the right end, I don't know what happens in the middle. And again, you won't have one. You'll probably have a horizontal asymptote question maybe, but it won't be this one because you could just go put it on your graphing calculator. It'll be a little bit more uniquely asked. I can't right now. I'm so afraid I can't even think of how they might ask that, but it's definitely possible. But what it means is as we head to infinity to the right, we're gliding along the x-axis or along y equals 0. So y equals 0 is a horizontal asymptote. But as we go to the right, we're unbound. So we have 1. Now, had we gone to the right, we'd gone like that. That would have showed up as a constant in this evaluation. Whew. All right, we're done. So that's it for the notes. So right now you should be sitting there with 3 sheets of paper, right? And we're going to do a little practice, the first time practice of submitting those in the proper way. So there's going to be multiple ways you can do it. I'm going to sort of suggest that you do it the way College Board is suggesting in their AP Live sessions because they're 100% sure it works and it works all the time. You could try other stuff, and I'm afraid you're going to get to the AP test and you're going to be like, it won't accept this or it's not working. So just make sure if you're going to veer away from these directions, you're 1000% sure that it's in a format that can be submitted in the time given. So we're going to go practice that. So I'm going to go here and do a stop share on my Google Doc here. I'm losing track of what I'm doing here. So I stop sharing my Google Doc. I'm going to go back to here, stop sharing here. Now I'm going to reshare. I'm going to go to my desktop and we're going to go take a look on my desktop here. And hopefully this part works. If not, that's okay. So on my desktop, I hope that's what you're seeing here. I'm going to go to here, and this is the practice site for practicing submitting your test with a timer. You obviously can't do it because you don't know your AP ID yet. And again, to repeat, go full circle to the beginning of this. So that's coming out on Sunday, and it's going to your email that's associated with your College Board account. You need to find what that is and be able to access it by Friday because you're going to have a test on it. But for now, they said to use the word practice in caps. So we're going to practice this submission. I highly suggest you do this, and I'm going to ask you for a picture of it eventually. I'm probably not going to go redo my Google Doc, to be honest, because I got to be done for the day. I started at 7, and it's, what time is it? It's 4:43. Holy mackerel. All right, I need to refresh this because I have already did it with BC here last hour. But you hopefully maybe have done this if you went to the Google Live session. But you're going to be asked more information on what's called a security page. They want you in there at a half hour before your test time, and your test time is at 1. Now, I know on the Google Live session it said at 2, but remember they were in Eastern times. Where at 1 is when your test starts. That's when your timer starts ticking. You want to be in there at 12:30. And you want to complete all the security stuff. You want to make sure you have those 10 sheets of white paper, 2 stacks of 5, with your ID in the left corner, middle initials in the middle. First and last initials, and then number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right-hand side. Not to stress out now. That's why we're talking about a week ahead of time. I'll make you know how to do it on Friday because we're going to test until you get 100. You're just going to stay in my Schoology conference until you get it to work. So, And if you don't, you're going to get a 0 out of 20 for test points. So it's going to be easy test points. Just make sure you can do it. On Friday, we'll do legit practice. Right now, it's kind of a first time through, but it's actually really easy. So go ahead and enter your first name. I'm going to make up a fake date here. You should practice entering your real one. But like I said, I want to be done. I was born way after 1987, but I'm not going to tell you when. Although you should be able to figure it out from my quizzes, right? I'm from home. And you can decide either way. I already accepted it last time, so you can read through that if you want. I agree. I'm going to continue. Now, this is where I have to leave you in terms of practicing the rest on your own because I don't want to wait the 3 minutes and 14 seconds. But I'm going to explain to you these 3 submitting options. For math, calculus, computer science, and AP statistics, you're going to choose attach a photo. You're going to be handwriting. Your other classes, you can do the text file. So you can type your English essay if you would like to and have 2 windows open, the prompt and the essay. And, you know, your English teacher and government teacher can worry about all that. I don't know who would do the copy paste, but we're going to be in the attach a photo here for calculus. So you'll be selecting attach a photo once this timer's out. Now, how you do that is you need to take pictures of your 3. All right, see if you need 3 separate pictures of the full paper in your screen. You're going to go to your camera roll. You're going to select all 3 of them. You're going to do a share. And you're going to select all 3 by clicking in the top left button. And again, I'll have a video of this up, but you're going to select all 3 of them and you're going to email them to yourself all at once, not one at a time because we've only got 5 minutes. All right, so then you're going to go to your device, your computer or laptop or Chromebook, and you're going to go to your email. It doesn't have to be your College Board email. Just go to your school email them to your school email address and go to your school email address or whatever one you want. All right, they're going to load in there. Now, this is where some people on my Facebook group have said that some of their kids said it's been taking a while to get that email from themselves. That probably means you might want to clean up your Wi-Fi a little bit. Like if you have brothers and sisters on Xbox and mom's watching Netflix and dad's on YouTube and whatever, you might want to say at that testing time, look, I need all Wi-Fi firing for me today. But you're going to get that email. The minute it pops in, just keep refreshing until those pictures come in, right? They should all come in at once in one email. When you go to open that email, you're going to have that window there with the attachments below it. Click on the download option. And what that'll do is it'll download it all into a zip file. And so you'll have all in your downloads, you'll have this zip file of 3 different pictures. All right. Each of those has to get uploaded individually into the testing site, which is what this is going to mimic. So once my 48 seconds is up here, maybe I'll just wait for it to run out. So that's what I want you to practice doing, and try to I was going to have you guys send me a picture of your successful upload. Can't be a PDF, can't be a text file, can't be the HEIC. It has to be a JPEG, and it has to be 3 separate ones, and you can only submit once. So you don't do like bring a picture and submit. Otherwise, once it sends off to submit, you're done. Like that's, if you only submit 1 page, your test will be graded on the 1 page and there's no going back. You can't do any. So you got to be very careful that you're following directions. So I practice this multiple times until you've got it. So you can, I'll tell you how I would do it once you're done with these 3, but now it says continue. So my exam begins now. I want to attach a response, right? I want to do attach photos. All right, so what I'm going to do to attach my photos is, where is it? I don't remember. Oh, I can't do it because I already did it today. So you would have an option to bring them in. Sorry, I've used this already today and it's still in my initial. But anyway, so you go and you do the attach a photo, and you'll bring it in. You can have it on your desktop, or you would have it in your downloads. And again, I'm on an iMac, so yours is different, but you guys have been accessing that stuff forever. You're gonna have to bring them in one at a time, so that you got to kind of bring it in, go back, bring it in, go back. You don't really need to label them. And then when you're done, you have this much time left to submit work. Now I didn't, so what I would do is practice attaching 5 photos. So I would, because that's the most you can use on your test. So take 5 different pictures, practice emailing them to yourself, downloading the email as a zip, practice bringing that into this in under 5 minutes. And I'm going to be done for the day. You guys are awesome. We'll see you later. I am going to stop recording and end the meeting.